Waves of the Heart. It was the summer of 2015 when Emma first arrived at the coastal village of Belshore, seeking a quiet escape from the noise of her life in the city. The salty air, the sound of waves crashing against the shore, and the peaceful rhythm of the fisherman's daily routine were a stark contrast to the fast-paced newsroom she had left behind in London. Emma, a journalist by profession, had come to Belshore intending to spend only 2 weeks. She rented a small seaside cottage, owned by an old woman who spoke fondly of the village's charm, and of her grandson, Leo, a local boat builder. Leo was everything Emma was not: calm, content, and firmly rooted in his small-town life. He had hands roughened by work and eyes softened by the sea. Their first meeting was unremarkable, a brief hello while she was walking along the pier and he was fixing a boat's rudder. But something lingered in that first glance, like the echo of a story waiting to be written. Over the days, their encounters became more frequent. Leo would bring her fresh fish in the morning, and Emma would leave pastries wrapped in cloth on the bench near his workshop. Slowly, their conversations grew, talking about literature, music, the ocean, and everything in between. Emma found comfort in his silences, and Leo found laughter in her presence. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, Leo took Emma out on his boat. The sky blushed with hues of orange and pink, and the sea mirrored the calm inside her. It was then, with the wind in her hair and the scent of salt in the air, that Emma realized she had fallen in love. But love, like the sea, was not without turbulence. Emma received a call from her editor, an offer to lead a major international assignment in New York. It was everything she had worked for, everything she had dreamed of before she ever knew the peace of Belshore or the warmth of Leo's touch. When she told Leo, he didn't say a word. He simply looked at her, his eyes heavy with understanding and heartbreak. "Go," he said. "You were never meant to stay in one place. But if the waves ever bring you back, I'll be here." Emma left, her heart torn in two. Years passed. Emma traveled the world, reporting from war zones, covering revolutions, and chasing stories that changed lives. Yet, every quiet moment, every night she stared at the stars, she thought of Belshore. She thought of Leo. Then one spring morning, after covering a peace summit in Geneva, Emma stood by her hotel window and felt a shift inside her. The success no longer filled her. The applause meant less. Her heart, it seemed, had never truly left Belshore. She returned without notice. The village hadn't changed. The sea still whispered secrets to the shore. And there, near the edge of the pier, stood Leo, older but unmistakably him, fixing a boat just as he had that first day. He looked up. She smiled. And without a word, he opened his arms. The waves had brought her home. Whispers beneath the lantern sky. In a small riverside town nestled between emerald hills and blooming cherry trees, lived a quiet girl named Alara. She spent her days tending to her grandmother's flower shop, where the scent of lilies and lavender filled the air, and her nights sketching under the warm glow of paper lanterns that lit the cobbled streets. Alara was gentle and kind, with eyes like the twilight, soft, mysterious, and full of wonder. Across the river, in a crumbling yet dignified old bookstore, worked a young man named Cale. was a writer with ink-stained hands and a mind full of stories he never dared to tell aloud. Every morning, Cale walked across the old stone bridge, watching Alara water the flowers outside her shop, sometimes pausing just a moment longer than necessary. One rainy afternoon, fate, ever the quiet matchmaker, spilled a bit of water over Cale's umbrella. As he darted into Alara's shop for shelter, his soaked pages fluttered to the ground. Alara knelt to help, her fingers brushing against his. He looked into her eyes and saw every poem he had never written. She smiled, shyly, and offered him a cup of tea while the storm passed. From that day on, Cale visited the flower shop more often. Sometimes for roses, sometimes for daisies, but always with a reason that had nothing to do with flowers. Alara began saving a seat for him at the corner table, placing a fresh bloom in a jar beside his tea. They spoke of favorite books, of forgotten dreams, of the stars above and the world beyond. One night, during the Lantern Festival, the town gathered by the river to release glowing orbs into the sky, each carrying a secret wish. Cale stood beside Alara, holding a lantern between them. Before releasing it, he whispered, "I wish for the courage to tell her I love her." Alara turned, her voice barely a whisper. "What if she already knows?" Their lantern rose into the night, joining 1,000 others, and in that moment, beneath a sky of floating firelight, they kissed for the first time. Years passed, but the flower shop remained, now painted in soft pastel hues. The old bookstore grew into a small publishing house. Alara and Cale, forever inspired by one another, built a life stitched with simple joys, shared breakfasts, quiet walks, bookshelves filled with poems and petals.